Hello and welcome to the University of Washington. I'm going to start off by talking about the Global Support Project, and I'm going to see if this works. I'm first going to, each of us are going to do this, just give you a snapshot of what our global health unit here is on campus. One of the things in the survey we found is that these units were very different across the country. So we have a Department of Global Health that reports jointly to the School of Medicine and the School of Public Health. King Holmes, who was the host all morning, is the chair of that department. The department came up in about almost 4 years ago, and it's big. I'm sure these numbers are out of date, and I just put them in last week. The faculty is at about 220. There are 300 staff, and they're adding them probably as we speak. And there's a full range of activities that this unit is responsible for. This is the reason the Global Support Project came into existence. If you hadn't realized that, the University of Washington was not set up to support an operation of this scale. And in particular, what was causing us a massive headache was how to register operations abroad. And thanks to our colleague here, Bill Nicholson, who we'll mention in a minute, figured out how to do that. So now the University of Washington global health activities are registered in 9 countries with 2 pending. So in 2006, we had a long list of administrative problems here, and this is just a shortened version of that. The university was prohibited by law from depositing more than $50,000 out of the country, and we were being asked to put hundreds of thousands of dollars a month into one country. That wasn't going to work. We had no way, as I mentioned, no way to register abroad. So these operations that needed to be compliant with local law, we're finding it impossible to do that. We also had a very significant problem paying somebody to come into this country to give a talk. So someone coming in from the University of Nairobi who we're going to pay $2,000 to, an incredible nightmare. And then finally, we had no way to support our international faculty, staff, and graduate students. We didn't have a comprehensive emergency plan. So we were flying blind at that point. So, does this look familiar? I mean, could you all could add your own, and you find some of yourself up here on this list? So the purpose of the Global Support Project, and Ann is my boss, is to bring together these units, these are some of the prime units we work with, into functioning teams to do problem solving. And what has made the project effective is that the blocks that are in purple report up to the same administrative structure. So these people are largely used to working together. And in fact, in financial services, which is the unit that Ann directly supervises, there's a very strong history of process improvement. So there's a very strong, collaborative, team-building approach, and I think that's been fundamental in our success. But as you can see, there's 4 blocks over there that aren't purple. So the challenge that we found in the survey that every university has is bringing together all of those units into a big tent where they're not used to working together. That look familiar too? And when you start to do international work, what you find is that legal and HR are 2 key players. And if they don't have a way to work collaboratively with you, you're going to be stuck a lot. So here's an overview of how we do the project. We have integrated support from the top through the bottom. The executive leadership sponsors were the provost and the executive vice president, who's Ann's boss. We have a lot of input from faculty stakeholders. I see some of the faculty here today who have provided input. We do that through surveys, focus groups, individual interviews. We have technical advisors from legal, from risk management, internal audit, and compliance in management accounting. And then we have a steering team, and that's kind of morphed over time. The project is now 4 years old, and this team has met more often in the beginning, met monthly. Now it doesn't meet as often. But we've substituted more direct teams for some of the big problem solving we're doing. Down below is how we do our work. So one of the keys, I think, that if you're trying to do this work at your university, you should consider is having someone whose job it is to do it. And that's mine. I'm the project manager, and this is all I do. So if that's a takeaway from here, go back and see if you can get this job created. It's a very fun job. We do process improvement, and if you don't have that kind of tool on your campus, you're going to have some problems. You need to have a way to make things better. The WD-40 effect is our magic juice. That's where we bring people together who aren't necessarily used to working together to get them to compromise, to get them to give a little, to get them to try it. So doing something on a pilot basis, we have found has been very effective. If people don't have to live with it forever, they're more likely to live with it for a few months. And then websites. I mean, that seems obvious in this day and age, but giving people information that they can access on the web has been very helpful in our case. So here's where we have gone since 2004. Anne, all by herself, got that law changed that prohibited us from the cap on...
A little help from the state legislature.
Yeah, well, she went down and talked to the president. But as you can tell in the intro, she was very persuasive. We've also been successful in changing another law. We were prohibited by law from buying international health insurance for students going abroad and requiring them to have it. So that was a big plus for us this past year. UWorld was created. What we found was that these foreign countries were used to seeing or wanted to see an NGO. And if anything, we're a GEO. So as I said through our colleague, former colleague, we have been able to create something that's working. It's working worldwide. The honorarium nightwear, while it's not a dream today, has been improved substantially by checklists. I mean, there's some basic tools, work tools, that make this work easier. There's checklists, flow charts, information on the web, and then there's just fixing your processes on campus so that it's easier to give some poor deserving person $2,000. And then finally, with the development of our global emergency management plan, we feel we're in better shape to help people when things go bad, as we all know they do. So the challenges. There's a big variance in risk tolerance. Anybody found that on your campus? From the faculty member who wants to work in the village that has no access to anything, to the risk manager who's buying insurance for that person. So the extent to which the most conservative person on your campus is making decisions about your global health administrative infrastructure, you're going to be constrained. And again, it's a dialogue that you need to start having. You can never make risk go away. But one thing, if I could just jump to that third bullet that we found here, is the more that you work together with the campus who's going abroad, and I'm looking at one of our trusted colleagues here, or two of them from iTech, the more you work together to solve problems, the easier it is to build in compliance, to build in trust, to build in a way of working together that meets both needs. Doesn't always, but what we found is that leading with customer service, asking people what their problems are and then trying to solve them, is a much easier way to improve this environment. Now, that's not to say that we've gotten rid of all of our entrenched administrative silos. These are the units, and maybe you have one on your campus, where they've done it this way, they will do it this way, and people just have to learn to live with it. And those are challenging units to work with. If you yourself are leading one of those units, you might want to think about that. And then finally, what I call the Where's Waldo effect. You know, Waldo was, you remember in the early 90s, there was that wonderful illustrated book with the little guy and you had to find him. Well, the Where's Waldo effect on campus is, where is that guy? We get phone calls with somebody wanting to do something in pick a country and no one knows that they're even going there. So it's hard to provide administrative support if you don't know where somebody is. And one of the things that we'll be doing this year is trying to get ahead of Waldo so that we know what's going on, we can provide support, and we can help steer people away from problems we know they're likely going to run into. So finally, lessons learned. We think that an international champion at all levels, at the top, middle, and bottom, is really critical. We've done that in a number of ways. As I said, it's my job, and I'm the international champion. At the lower level, we have points of contact, so that each of the administrative units, there's someone whose job is to field international questions. And then Anne serves as an international champion at a higher level, and then finally, her boss is the best.
And Steve.
And Steve, oh yes. I want to recognize, we have built a very strong relationship with the Office for Global Affairs, and we have with us here the Vice Provost, Steve Hansen. That's a pretty powerful combination when the administrative side can work together with the Provost Office. It's hard to beat. So as I said, try to solve people's problems. Don't just try to slap them on the wrist when they have them. That seems to work better. Good infrastructure promotes trust. I mean, more and more, I think that's what we see as a best practice. And then Anne said multidisciplinary collaboration is critical. That's what our project's trying to do. And then it's easier to pilot than it is to build tomorrow forever. So this is one of our slides about the new day. We think this is Tanzania.
Kenya.
We think this is from Connie Kellum's group.
It's Kenya.
Kenya. Okay, Kenya. But what you can see is a form of collaboration going on, where the swimming pool is being shared by the people in the meeting in the back. You can see them, and you can see the zebras in the front. We think that this is what supporting international work is like, and should be like on campus. You need to form new collaborations with new partners that you didn't necessarily know about. So, that's it. Thanks.